So what's up people, welcome back to Hollywood Breakdowns, and I'm your friendly Hollywood Breakdowner, Prajeth. And in Hollywood Breakdowns we talk all things about the DCU and the MCU and the SSMU and whatnot. And from posters to trailers, I break down every single thing to make your film experience better and to appreciate the makers for their attention to details. So about a week ago, we got the first big thing of the year, which is the Echo series.
Marvel Studios, Echo.
Anyways, let's get on to the review, and please take note that there will be some spoilers. So starting off, this series kicks off Marvel's new sub-brand called Marvel Spotlight, and this platform was created to bring more grounded and character-driven stories to the screen, and in the case of Echo, to focus on street-level stakes over the larger MCU continuity. Marvel Spotlight will contain standalone content that doesn't require any background knowledge of the MCU story arcs, and they're doing this to mitigate the biggest problem the Marvels faced. That is about having to do too much homework to be ready to see a film or a show. So Marvel Spotlight will solve this problem, and you can really notice that from the first episode of Echo. Echo is the first TV MA show ever since Marvel started producing Disney Plus content, and it's for good reason, and I'll get to that in a minute. The MA rating allows this show to have phenomenal fight scenes, and by phenomenal I mean like those hand-to-hand combat scenes you get in those Netflix Daredevil shows, because those are some next level fight scenes, and that is what you get out of this show, which is pretty insane considering that the MCU doesn't really have those kind of fight scenes. The show is rated TV MA for violence and some cursing, and you see a lot of blood, so that is why it's rated TV MA. Overall, the TV MA rating seems like a good choice to have gone with, because it allows them to do some interesting action sequences that you would expect from these kind of shows. Also, some of the fight scenes even take place in complete silence, so that you not only see what Echo sees, but you also feel and hear what Echo hears, which is basically nothing because she is deaf, and you get to feel her POV, and it's a great way for us to engage with the show. If you saw the trailer, you would know what kind of fight scenes I mean, and yeah, you basically get a lot more of that, so just expect more of that.
Maya. I see everything that you are. I always have. Don't be afraid.
This show also had all of its episodes drop on one single day, meaning that you could just binge watch all of the episodes in like a matter of 3 hours. And I think this is the way that Marvel should be going with all their shows.
All 5 episodes. One killer drop. I wouldn't have it any other way.
And they recently tried releasing their What If series. There was 9 episodes. They released it for 9 days continuously every single day, and that is also a good way. It's better than releasing an episode a week. When you release 1 episode per week, a lot of times the shows clash with the movies. Like for example, the Hawkeye series clashed with Spider-Man No Way Home, and this allows for no time for each movie to have a build-up of suspense. I think this is the ultimate way they should resort to, because it really helps them. So I think the way that Echo was handled would be the best option for their future Disney Plus shows. We are constantly being bombarded with these shows, and by the time one show ends, a movie comes out, and it just becomes homework at this point.
You and I are the same. So, who's the monster?
So each episode has weird titles, and each title is the name of the ancestor we will be looking at in that episode. So that's why it has some weird titles. Because when I first looked at the series, I was looking at all the titles and I'm like, what does this mean? What does this mean? Okay, so I really didn't understand it, but after looking at the series, I found out that each episode starts out with a simple scene showing the story of one of Maya's ancestor, and then the Marvel intro and Spotlight intro and then Echo intro. That's a lot of intros, by the way. And that's why the last episode is titled Maya, because in the last episode she learns how to become like her ancestors and control her powers. So it's her story now. But enough talking about the technical aspects of Echo, let's talk about the show. The events of Hawkeye actually take place during the first episode of Echo. Okay, so episode 1 is mostly about connecting this series to Hawkeye. And it will be very helpful for you if you're someone who hasn't watched Hawkeye yet, because they recap every scene from that show that you need to see to be ready to watch this show and understand the story. They are doing this because this show comes under the banner of Spotlight. So this episode is treated like a recap for the character of Maya, and it shows some of her backstory, like the death of her mother, her father, and why she hates the Kingpin. Then we have a fight scene and Daredevil pops up. So this brings me to my next point about Daredevil. So when they showed Daredevil for like 5 seconds in the trailer, they weren't kidding. He only comes there for like 2 minutes. This actually shocked me because Daredevil is a big part of Echo's story. Because in the comic, Matt Murdock, who is Daredevil's alter ego, is actually Maya's love interest. And then the vigilante that Matt Murdock turns in the night, Daredevil, is a rival to Echo. Yeah, there's some complicated things going on. So this made me think that Daredevil will be a bigger part of the show. But it's a good thing because lesser fan service means better movies. So yeah, I feel like they actually scaled down the fan service here, and yeah, episode 1 ends with a very predictable ending. Kingpin is not dead. We totally didn't see that coming.
Maya, I see everything that you are. I always have.
Wilson gives her these contacts that can translate his words to sign language so that Maya can see the sign language. And it does the reverse for Kingpin. And this seemed like really cool tech that I feel like we should have in the real world, because it would be very helpful for deaf people and mute people. Just today, Samsung announced their Galaxy AI, which will be able to translate text during calls. Sounds really futuristic, and I feel like they should go for sign language next. But keeping aside the Mr. Potter Prajeth side of me, let's move on to the Hollywood breakdown side of me. So this was an unexpected scene. I wasn't expecting him to create those tech. And then Kingpin was actually offering Maya the role of Queenpin. But we know that he's just trying to trick her, and yeah, Maya of course rejects it because she knows that if the Kingpin actually cared for her, he would learn sign language instead of spending millions on creating tech. Anyways, episode 5 is about Echo learning how to use her powers, and it was not too bad. It wasn't as disappointing as Secret Invasion's finale, and this show is definitely not the worst. In fact, it's as good as Hawkeye. The finale was undoubtedly the worst episode of the show, and it's also the shortest. But overall, this show manages to focus on the titular character while also fixing some other problems, and it's living up to the standard of a Marvel project. It also confirms that all the Netflix Marvel shows are canon to the MCU. Those shows were also added to the MCU timeline on the Disney Plus platform, and yeah, so at least they confirmed that up. And we also hear the Kingpin talk about how he killed his father using a hammer, which we've seen in the Daredevil show. So the show also had the same tone as those Netflix shows. Doesn't really feel like MCU project. About the origins of Echo, they did change a lot of her origins and powers. Now she has 2 glowing hands, and basically any woman in her bloodline has those powers. I'm not sure about the men, but it's mostly women. And her suit is also different, and I'm not a big fan of it. Of course, it is because they want to infuse her culture, the Choctaw tradition and all those stuff, but I think they could have just used her comic costume. It's not a costume, but her comic look, you know, in that sense. And I hate what they did to Kingpin in the finale. The first 4 episodes, he looks so badass, and he's such a great character, but in the finale, they just turn him into this giant, fat, bald baby.
What did you do?
He gets confused by what Maya does to him, and then he's like, what did you just do to me? You know what, I'm just gonna get out of here. I'm never gonna see you, Maya, and you win, you know. This is not what Kingpin is.
in this story, Kingpin is a brutal, brutal character.
Of course, besides that, at the Kingpin side of things, this show was basically setting up his character for the next Spider-Man movie and the Daredevil Born Again show. And you can tell that from the post-credit scene, which was about Kingpin watching the news. And in the news, they said that there's no candidate running to be the mayor of New York and the public want a fighter as their candidate. So they basically mean that anyone who becomes a candidate can become the mayor because there is no other candidate to fight against them. So this means Kingpin will become the mayor of New York, and it is said that he will be outlawing superheroes and vigilantes similar to the Sokovia Accords in Civil War. So this means that Daredevil and Spider-Man won't be able to do anything, and there you have your plot for Spider-Man 4 and Daredevil Born Again. So I will give this show a 7 out of 10 because overall it's not a good or a bad show. I think it's worth a watch and you should definitely check it out. And that will do it for my review of this show. I'll meet you guys back probably tomorrow, hopefully, in my Captain Miller review, which is a Tamil movie. So the review will be in Tamil. And yeah, click on screen for another great video and peace out.
Marvel's hardest-hitting series ever is here.
It's about to get dangerous.
It explodes with bone-crushing action.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
One of the most powerful shows Marvel has ever made. Marvel Studios' Echo. All episodes now streaming.